My guest for this episode is renowned Cebuano fashion designer Philip Rodriguez. We get into a candid talk discussing various topics. Uh, Tito Philip, anything you want to say?
Hi, hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mike, for having me.
Yes, it's a
It's
pleasure.
a pleasure for me to be in your podcast.
Yes, and looking forward to a meaningful conversation.
That's
I hope
right.
you take something from this talk. Thank you. Good evening, Tito Philip.
Good
It's good
evening,
to see
Mike.
you. I see you have a very lovely and beautiful home. So it's always a pleasure to
Thank you for
see you.
having me tonight.
So anyway, I just wanted to catch up with you, and also I wanted to hear your story, your humble roots in the fashion industry. Of course, you've been around many years
Yeah, that's
sa
right.
Cebu. First of all, what led you to that journey? What your
Actually,
humble roots? How did you start out?
my mom was already into fashion. She, as a hobby, she was doing her clothes, or among her friends, she would do their clothes. So years later, we would open a fabric store. And then as we grew, we came up with a tailoring shop at first. And then after college, I was supposed to live for abroad. But then my mom said, Oy, uh, you have a duty here with the family, like any Chinese family. So we have to help. And we were expanding. We were building. We already had that building. So, okay, so I'll try my best. So I managed the store and eventually became, maybe because fashion was my passion. So I became a designer. People liked what I suggested to them, and the rest is history.
This is the same
The same
office.
store the same shop that you went to, it's been there for 51 years.
So Pier Angelino
Yeah,
Boutique.
boutique.
Who is Pier Angeli? That's
Pierre
your
Angel
mom.
is named after my sister.
Sister.
But she was named after a movie star because she was born in the time when there was this famous movie, Battle of the Bulge. This is really something funny because she was one of the stars in that all-star cast movie. And she was also the famous girlfriend of James Dean, the
James Dean.
icon, the teenage icon of the 1950s. So I wasn't a designer then. So parang the obvious thing was to name after her as a youngest daughter. So and then I wasn't planning to be in fashion because I was supposed to leave for Europe to work there for a while. But then travel then was difficult because there was a travel restriction during martial law. So to get the travel papers, it would take a while. Although I had uh, the 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 scholarship that I was leaning to, but then again, there was so much work to do to travel abroad
So this was in the
in
70s.
the
So
70s.
martial law years, medyo
That's
tight. So you
yeah.
were led to
So
fashion,
fashion.
na
That's right.
redirect. Okay.
Correct.
So did you always know early on that that was really your calling?
Not really. I was just exposed, maybe because my aunts were into boutique business. There were no restaurants then, but they would have boutiques in the uptown area, and they would sell all these mga fine leather goods or things for the house. So maybe that was part of my exposure. But then again, my mom was also doing dresses, so I was into that world. So and I thought I'd be an architect. But the funny story is I failed in geometry. So no matter how I asked Father Nunez to take consideration, So, parang hagbong lagi hapon. So, so maybe architecture's not for me. So, I wasn't so good either in mechanical drawing. I don't know if at that time, did you had mechanical drawings in Sacred Heart?
We had some classes, but it wasn't
It
really
wasn't really that serious,
a,
no?
a focus, no.
Yeah. Well, we had that very seriously at that time.
Okay. Uh, Given many years in Cebu na ka, what can you say about the changes in Cebu
Oh, yes.
over the past decades?
Well, the presence of the internet, the social media, people have become more fashion conscious uh, with all the brands, high-end brands that are now in Cebu. So we're now up to date.
More on sa New Star, no? Nag-set up
Well,
dito. I think
even
that's the
in
latest
Ayala,
thing.
yes,
Yeah.
at least we're at par with the world, with the rest of the globe. And I'm glad because it's not easy, it's not difficult anymore to convince what's the look for that coming season because they understand, because they see it now. Before, during our time when they had to wait for movie stars to wear it, that I can convince, muning uso. But then, not anymore. They're aware.
What are some of your upcoming projects? Because I know you have a lot
Oh,
lined
yes,
up. You
that's
mentioned to
right.
me.
I have a series of projects. Come September, we're doing Estilo Sugbuanon. It's a 3-day event in cooperation with the Cebu City Tourism Commission. And we're promoting and developing the concept of what Estilo Sugbuanon is. So we're trying to encourage the next generation of designers to come up with what is Estilo Sugbuanon. We challenge them. But in the meantime, we will do our own interpretation and we will be presenting a collection on September 20 at the SM Sky Park. There will also be a competition among young designers on apparel as well as on uh, accessory design, because before Cebu was quite known for our fashion accessories, but it seems like the industry is dying. So we want to be, Cebu being a creative city, we want to uplift, we want to bring it back. And maybe the young minds can do something about it, come up with something more progressive, more uh, forward looking with and help the revive our fashion accessory business. We also have a section on bag design. There's a rich market there on bags from our basket weaves or from the abaca weaves. So it's just a matter of probably tweaking it and making the designs global. So that's the second day, and then the third day will be parang we will have a series of workshops and talks on uh, makeup, on art, like photography, and the rest of the other creative uh, works, no? And how you're gonna be more like doing animation and all. So it's going to be a busy 3-day event in September. And then in October, we will have our bridal show at New Star. Then in November 14, which is my pet project, I will be doing Bisti, fashion and art exhibit again at the New Star. This Bisti, it means atong damit, atong sanina. It, it features the artwork of Miss Jane Ibarle, which deals on an abstract work on the Filipina dress, and I'll interpret it in my own fashion with that Filipino something new, something modern, but it has a touch of Filipiniana, and it will be a 10 piece collection, and it will we will be our beneficiary will be the music student of the Tabor Hills College of Music. So watch out for it because our exhibit and the launch will be at the New Star Mall, and that will be on November 14, and the exhibit will run until November 30.
So very busy months ahead.
Quite
September, October,
busy,
November,
yes, and
all major events
major events indeed.
upcoming.
True, true.
Okay.
So walang pahinga, way pahinga.
So what are some more innovations or excitement we can expect in the fashion industry, particularly Cebu or even in the Philippines?
What is exciting now is because there's a new found interest on wearing um Filipino, but uh, on an everyday fashion. So we try to make it more street fashion out of the Philippines. It's not costume that we're doing, but we want to create something that it looks Filipino and yet it can be worn every day. And I think that movement is makes it
More on
exciting because
casual.
it becomes casual, and you see more of patriotism there. So
Yeah,
after all, that's what we need at this
that's right,
time,
no? Because if you think if they dress Filipiniana, it's like only for big
for
events, but you don't
correct.
see it
But if we
for
can
everyday
interpret
wear.
it for an everyday wear,
Yeah,
that's something new, and it can promote our creative industry work and as well as preserving our heritage.
what is uso now? Because of course there are many trends as the times change.
That's
So what
right.
would you say is uso now in
To me,
how
what is also is something
we
that should
dress?
reflect you. It should not be trendy, but something where you're most comfortable. To me, it should reflect what is you. You just pick up what is the look now. I mean, but then you do not totally embrace it, but where make it a point that you're comfortable with it.
It should
So
still reflect your
your
innate
personality.
personality.
So you don't bury yourself into the style, into the trend, but you do create your own style. So like for the men, it's back to loose shirts and baggy pants.
Baggy.
Yeah, so it sometimes it will take a while, but we are in the transition period we're in from slim fit
Yeah,
and skinny jeans. We're now back. We're going to the loose,
loose again.
comfortable style. Very 80s actually.
Bell bottom 70s,
Not
di ba?
the sad, but just baggy.
Baggy.
In a more reinterpreted to today's needs, but not totally embracing the whole look.
Okay. If I may ask, what motivates you to keep going? What drives you?
What drives me? It's probably because of my passion for fashion.
But if you weren't
It's
into fashion, what industry would you be in? Let's say, yeah, because you've all majored in design for all these years. What
I've learned to
are
love the fashion that I'm in, I am, because I love creating something. I love to see how I can transform a person, something that from an ordinary look, and she becomes flattering in her outfit. I get I get this high when I see them wear over and over again because they have become favorites of theirs. I get high when I see them you know, um, it's the dress that will it's them who's wearing the dress and it's not the dress that's wearing them. I think that's the look that I want to be. That's where my signature is. It's not always a bit overpowering the the wearer.
Okay. What about your general outlook in your life? What philosophy do you go by, or
Strive
some
for
sort of life motto for you?
strive for excellence. Always reinvent yourself to the times. Adapt what's so you won't grow old. So probably I don't know, but yeah, just like a foam, it absorb what's happening today, and do your own thing, interpret it.
What about in terms of the developments around Cebu? Because you've been
Oh,
a Cebuano for
a long
a long
time.
time. So, what can you
It's,
say about the economy, the new developments?
it's very exciting. All the structures going around, parang wow. We've been waiting this for a long time, and this is it. We're very progressive. So this is a challenge for everyone to upkeep,
But it's
to
a
update ourselves.
good time to be alive, right? With all
Yes,
this
with all the
prosperity happening.
exactly.
Okay. What about travels, Tito? How often do you go to Manila or abroad? Or
Manila, it's always once or twice a month. Abroad, because of my job, I can't travel uh, for a longer period, but I try to manage. Maybe go to Paris or go to Istanbul, or I'm planning
what's
to
your
go to
favorite
India or
uh,
Mexico.
destination? Your all-time,
All-time destination, I don't know. Hong Kong. It's easy. It's just an hour away.
yeah, and the food is
And the food is great. I
great.
mean.
Okay. What about during your early years? What was your childhood like? I know you
Um,
come from a big family, a
that's right.
clan,
Very
and you
clannish
have
indeed.
siblings. So
So we every now and then we would have all these reunions,
yeah,
especially Christmas. But one of my most memorable is the one that we had a few months ago, where um, as a request of my cousin who unfortunately passed away, but that was one of his last requests, was to have a reunion, and we went back to our where my parents came from. We're from Camiguin, and then it was a happy reunion because that was where my cousin, would we would spend our summers there. So it was a sweet goodbye for him, and it touches us all.
I know you come from a big family, and there's business involved in that. How do you manage that, considering the business is so diverse and there are many personalities? How do you resolve conflicts?
Conflict, we talk.
Just
I
communicate.
think the communication is very important. We explain why and how, and we deal on what is our strengths. So maybe we respect each other, and we somehow yeah, like if that is your strength, that is your
So
um
egos are
yeah,
set aside.
we set aside.
As you hear about squabbles with other corporations, it
Well, I
can get
hope
very
yeah, I can imagine.
counterproductive.
True.
Yeah. But what was your course, Tito, when you were in college?
Actually, I was into management in
So
UP.
it was more on business, but
Right.
somehow you
I
were
I diverted
diverted
into the arts.
arts.
Although I was back in college, I was already sketching, but I was sketching interior homes. But then when I saw my grade, ay, nako, dili man din ni akong
Uh,
I'm, I'm bad in mathematics. So, parang I kind of blame myself for
yeah,
not
yeah.
being,
Different strength.
yeah. So I guess it was just, divine providence that, I went into fashion.
What about in terms of the income aspect dito. Because usually, if you're in the arts, there's usually a perception that there's not much money or the money doesn't come fast, especially
Yes.
if you're not known. So how do you build your brand? How do you build your
How I
name?
build my brand.
How do you build your reputation to capture a bigger
I
market?
guess I was just lucky that I came in at the right time. At that time when everybody still there were no ready to wear. Everybody just had to go to bespoke dresses, and I was catering to a good niche market because they were also my friends from our school. So, and how to keep my brand visible is to be involved in fashion, to be in fashion pictorials. I was always invited to do fashion shows, so I guess that helped. And I guess it's my interest in the arts, my interest in 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 history, that I'm visible to this crowd of community.
What sets you apart from the other designers? What's
Age,
age?
not
Or
really.
what makes you
No,
unique?
yeah, I
Or
was
what's
just
your
kidding.
distinct DNA or your trademark?
Well, I always go for something more simple, modern classics, something that's wearable, understated,
Not too loud or
not too
lavish.
loud, and always prim and proper, but can be sexy. So
A good
a
balance.
good balance. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Did you always have a talent for drawing or
It was
because
I
I
think
noticed when I visited you, you drew
it evolved. I cannot my sketching evolved
the
through the
sketching.
years. Yeah, and then I was also very. I also watch shows, and I always try to keep abreast. At that time, you know, our only source of fashion was Vogue and Town and Country. So I was always, I also watch out the bookstore. I mean, I was always go to the books and watch the latest of the Vogue issue, so I can learn something. Or if there are mga fashion shows in Manila, so I try to study their lines. So that was how I learned. That's how I immerse myself with fashion.
But early on, did you enroll with any courses or most of it came with experience
Came from experience.
as you went along?
Although I would like watch my mom.
So natural talent plus your mom setup plus
Yeah,
your passion
passion and maybe good taste, good eye
and
for
your
fashion.
good taste also. So all of that
Yeah,
integrated.
correct.
Okay. What about the current generation? Do you see any up and coming new talent
Quite a
in
number.
terms of designers? Because it's a different generation. So,
That's right.
what's your take on the
There's
younger designers?
there's quite a number, and in fact, um, it was there is this movement from organized by Bench and the Cultural Center of the Philippines, wherein they every year they would every 2 years they would come up with a competition on about the terno, the Philippine terno, which is the national dress. And I was part of in the second batch, and they would invite 10 or 15 uh, potential designers from all over the Philippines, and they train them, they mentor them. So I'm glad that there's that uh, Ternocon. That's why we're doing our own version, Estilo Sugboanon. There are quite a number, but then I cannot name names yet because we'll see how sustainable they are because some would along the way they would shift careers.
But with the new designs out there from the new millennials or these Gen Z,
Gen
does it
Z.
deviate their approach? Is
I
it very
want
far off from the traditional approach,
well
or the
that
times during your time?
it's different. It's different, but then that's we need to adjust to the times too. So I respect.
Even if it's not your taste, right?
Yeah, but I try to pick up what their taste is. I want to learn
So you
from them too.
also evolve
I also so I will
and you
evolve.
take something from them also.
Correct.
Okay. What about in terms of the work ethic of the
Ah,
new generation? Because there's that perception that the younger crowd, they're more
chill, chill.
chill, they're more relaxed,
That's
shorter
right.
attention span. But that's generic though, not for all, not meaning to say everyone, but there's that
There's
perception
that
that
perception. That's right.
low attention span or they dali mang luod.
Correct.
There's that. Would
Not
you
not only in the
see that?
fashion industry, but I think it's all over.
Yeah.
It's a general feeling. But then, with us, they might think fashion is frivolous. It's always glamour, but it's not. Behind that,
Yeah, the
it's hard
blood and
work.
sweat
There's so
and
many
tears.
details that we need to attend to. And what is sad because the there's a our workforce is getting smaller. The next generation, they have not embraced dressmaking anymore. They're they become. I mean, like the
So
sad part is, although I don't say sad because like my former workers, their children would already become teachers, they become computer analysts, or they become doctors or nurses. So they become professionals. But none of them, very few of them, would go back into the into the fashion
so the
industry.
remaining workforce, they're the older ones, so no
Yes,
one
and I
from the
just
next
hope,
generation
yes, that's I hope that the government will again encourage that there's dignity in, you know,
in this
in this um, work,
work.
and then probably we would train them seriously because what we have the training is kulang, and it's they always have this mindset that that we need to fill in a factory of mass production, but our labor is not cheap. We cannot compete with Bangladesh or Vietnam in terms of uh, labor. But what we can do is we rely more on our creativity, on a good taste of which is a mix of East and West, but on a boutique scale, not on a mass production level, because we need to create our own look. We need to create our own style. We cannot just be manufacturers like in China. If you ask them, give me 10 dozens of this or
Yeah,
10,000
no
dozens,
originality. It's
they
just
just manufacture it for you right away. So for us, for our kind of workforce, I think we should come up with our own, just like what Kenneth has done.
yeah. I
He
think we actually discussed this also, a similar topic
yeah.
about the workforce dying,
I
no
really,
one
oh,
taking
yes,
over.
that's
So
right. So it's the same
similar,
story.
yeah,
It's
similar.
the same, yeah. So you need to create that
Because
niche,
he's more in industrial design, right? The
industrial,
furnitures.
yeah.
So
But same
there
thing,
are commonalities,
there are, true.
certainly.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Regarding creativity, because that's very subjective. How do
Mm-mm.
you assess if one is good, bad? Because there's a big subjective element in terms of preference and taste.
Well,
So it
the
would really
taste is
vary.
important. It's always important uh, that it has to be done in good taste.
Yeah.
To
So
me, that's the number one. The right proportion,
yeah. So
the right color mix, and the fabrication should and the quality
Yeah.
of work.
So there's really an element that it will vary, right, from
Yes.
person to person,
Yes.
depending on
On how he
how he
conceptualize
looks,
how
how
he
he, his outlook,
correct.
his personality.
Yeah.
Are you involved in the other businesses in your family, or this is your main
I guess this is my
focus?
strength. I might as well be more effective on this one.
But you wear the board director hat for the rest of the
Well,
businesses.
I do, and with a business background, so I also have some
Yeah,
knowledge. So, and then I also sit in the as a
as a
board of
shareholder.
trustee,
Yeah.
not only in our company, but as board of trustee, member of the board of trustee in the National Museum of the Philippines. And I also sit as a commissioner in our local Cebu City Tourism Commission.
What advice would you impart uh, up and coming designers out there who want to follow your path or who want to excel in this field given the success you've had all these years?
Maybe focus on your work and strive for excellence in your in your in your work. It's not all glamour. There's hard work behind it.
And disappointments will come,
There
of
are
course,
disappointments,
failures,
there are mistakes, there are errors.
and
You learn from your mistake and not to repeat it. You learn. That's it. Um, there are also errors that becomes a masterpiece. You never know, but then it comes out much nicer. But then behind it is still hard work.
okay. What about in your pastime, Tito? Books, movies, series, or sports? Do you play
I
golf
don't have
or
sports. I only swim,
swim?
and a lot. Well, yeah, I watch Netflix. A lot of series.
The series, the Korean ones, or
Not really, but it's more
the
more
US
on,
shows?
yeah. And then yeah, I guess shopping, window shopping. You learn a lot. It's like merchandising and the way they present it, or on details.
Okay. What about the local Cebuano scene? What can you say about Cebu as a whole, given a lot of new restaurants opening, a lot of
Yes, I'm glad.
hotels,
And
better roads, hopefully, because traffic very bad. It's quite narrow everywhere.
we can't help with the narrow roads because we're an old city. We just
Yeah.
look forward that there would be a better. We can't help either because Cebu is progressive, so there'll be more cars, so more sales for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yes.
Well, that industry, the car industry, is booming. So
Yeah, it's
we're
booming.
grateful, but the road issue has to
Yes,
be
it will
addressed.
take. So I wish na lang na maybe someday we will have our public transport on a like the LRT in Manila, where it can transport our local workers, or instead of staying put more in Cebu City, but they can go home to the other municipalities every day, so they can be with their family, and then we can establish all the other, so they can go home with their family, and like maybe in 30 minutes they're already in the now, so we can decongest the city.
Okay.
So maybe that's one way of decongesting the city, because we cannot do anything anymore with the old section of Cebu where we have the narrow roads. But hopefully in the future, in the new developments, they will create a better road system.
What about during the pandemic? Because we came from a very bad COVID pandemic. How
True.
did you thrive in the industry during those very difficult times?
I was very lucky in a way, because on the last day, my friends at the JC's International Sinulog Group, they brought in a pickup load of fabrics to be made into PPEs. So all my workers being in the front line were had work. So we were might be closed down in our showroom, but we were working the whole time. We didn't price it as a commercial, but it's more on, on a basis that parang it's almost like a giveaway price. As long as I can pay their daily salaries, their wages, and the materials that we use. So they at least they were working the whole time. And at the same time, we also had we were able to organize with different designers from different parts of the country. Um, and this is the Philippine Fashion Coalition. And from that movement, we were able to convince Congressman Tof de Venecia to create, to pass a bill on the creative bill to
Great.
help the industry. So I guess despite of the lull, we were quite productive.
Okay. How do you combat the many uncertainties of life? Because life is, of course, very uncertain, unpredictable. How do you approach? Because to
I try
anyone
to be
out there,
positive.
it's always a struggle to,
I know
in terms of career, regardless of who you are,
correct.
where you come from.
Sometimes I get affected, I get a little tense, but then you just have to think positive, uh, pray to God.
Are you religious or spiritual, Tito?
Kinda. I'm a religious person, so I believe in God. So I guess I leave it to Him to guide me and to give me the light, what step to take. So that gives me the strength.
Any message to whoever might be watching this?
I'd like to invite them
Whoever.
for our coming shows. Actually, there's one this August 28th.
This month.
Yes. Um, my the Chuck, I mean, this is the Cebu Historical and Arts Commission will be giving an award. Cebuanong Bahandi meaning treasure, Cebuano treasure.
Okay.
So just like Kenneth, he was awarded last year. So on August 28th, I'll be given a special award, a distinct award.
That's here or
This
Manila?
coming
Here in
August
Cebu?
28th here in Cebu, uh, the award of Sugbuanong Bahandi, and I'd like to thank Chuck for giving me this award, and the rest of the Cebuano designers will be paying tribute their fashion with my kind of they'll be creating a collection that will reflect my kind of fashion. And then I'll be producing the Bisti, which is the art and fashion show at the New Star on November 14th. So watch out for it.
Yes. Tito.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. And more power to you on
Thank
your
you.
future endeavors.
Thank you.
Salamat.